Welcome to Resource Thursday with MSP Sales Revolution. I'm your host, Paco LeBron. This is the podcast where we discuss different ways to run your IT business, whether you're a one-person shop or have multiple employees. This is the place for you. Let me go ahead and introduce my co-host. We have none other than Rick Smith over at Renactus Technology. Rick, how are you today?
Doing great, Paco. Can't complain. Happy Thursday, everybody.
Happy Thursday, happy Thursday. And we like to introduce our favorite guest that we have here is none other than Jennifer Bleam, owner and founder of MSP Sales Revolution. Jennifer, how are you today?
I am doing great, but man, when Rick said it was Thursday, I could not figure out where the week went. But thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
It is definitely one of those weeks for sure because I thought that it was Thursday for 3 days already because it was such a blur of the last 2 weeks on just the amount of things we got going on. It's just yeah, time is fluid, that is for sure. But before we kind of go into talking more about what you got going on and just really opening up the sales conversation, because I think that we had a lot of great conversations in the last couple of weeks about marketing, but we wanted to go ahead and dive into sales. And that's really a thing I love to talk about because that's really what my main focus is at the business. But before we go into that, I like to talk about my favorite thing, and that is Techcon Unplugged. We are officially back September 16th to the 18th in Chicago at the Hilton Rosemont Chicago O'Hare. This will be an all-inclusive ticket minus the hotel and parking. And because when I say all-inclusive, normally when you purchase your ticket, you have to worry about your food, you have to worry about your refreshments, you have to kind of figure out what you're going to do for entertainment. We're going to go and hopefully take care of all of that for you. We're going to be able to have 2 nightly socials on Friday night, which kicks off the event, and on Saturday night at over at the Five Roses Pub. And then we're also going to have 2.5 days of great content, allowing you to have not only breakfast and lunch during those times, but as I mentioned, we're going to take care of you for dinner as well. But you're also going to get real takeaways to bring back to your business, which is so important. And I think probably one of the most important pieces, if those other two weren't, is tap elbows so you can enjoy one-to-one conversations, because everyone always misses those hallway conversations. I think that is really where the value is to coming to these type of shows. And if you're thinking about it, it's an investment. It's an investment for your business, and it's a tax write-off. So talk to your accountant about that. Tickets are $299, but there is an early bird special right now for $199, and that is until April 4th. You can go ahead and head over to techconunplugged.com to get your tickets and stay up to date on the amount of great news that we have going on. And one of the big pieces that we have that I forgot to mention is the ever elusive Breakout Sessions. That has been a great key piece in our community. We will be bringing that back as well. So techconunplugged.com, head over there and get your ticket now. All right. So Jennifer, really appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk a little bit about what's going on over at MSP Sales Revolution, just sales in general, because again, really like talking about that because it's an interesting dynamic, and it's something that people feel is a dirty word, but they need to kind of help get into that piece. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself for those that may not know who you are, and just what you all are all about?
Yeah, for sure. So I come from the MSP world. My husband has an MSP. I helped him with his sales and marketing for years before catching the eye of a vendor. And so I went over to the vendor, kind of the dark side, if you will, and helped a couple of vendors sell and launch some new products and new solutions very, very quickly. And so that one of those was a marketing vendor, one was a cybersecurity vendor, and then that cybersecurity vendor got acquired by Continuum, and they asked me to move across the country. I declined because my family is here, my church is here, my husband's business is here, and so at that point we parted ways as friends, and that's when I started MSP Sales Revolution. So it's been an amazing journey. I literally have had conversations with a couple thousand MSPs at this point as clients in those various vendors, as well as my current company. And it's been phenomenal. I love all things sales and marketing. I am a bit of a troubleshooter at heart, not on the tech side. You do not want me troubleshooting your technology, but I can troubleshoot a marketing plan. I can troubleshoot the heck out of a sales call. So that's what I do. I leave the troubleshooting to my clients on the tech side, but I help them on the sales and marketing side for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember meeting you at a channel con. You were at that vendor reselling a very popular next gen AV solution at the time. And I mean, it was so long ago. It was me and John Dubinsky who ran into you. But then we kind of but this was like probably at least 2016,
Yeah, I would say
2017
probably
when I
4 or
first
5
met.
years ago. Yeah, at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then we got reintroduced again back in, I think it was 2019, when you were kind of starting up MSP Sales Revolution, and it just brought that authenticity and what that area in our industry needed, right? Because I think there's this concept of marketing and sales where, you know, on one side it's you absolutely need to do it, but you know, there's the camp that either feel that they can't do it, and they really can. It's really not that hard to kind of train your brain on that part. And then there are those that are like, nope, snake oil, don't want to do it. That's not my forte, and kind of go from there. And me and Rick even had this conversation on really talking about really trying to figure out, all right, how do we get better with marketing? How do we get better with sales? But I guess my question for you is, what kind of made you get into that piece of marketing and sales, and especially in the IT industry?
Okay, so no one has ever asked me that question before. So shout out to so before my husband even had an MSP, I sold health insurance, and then I shifted to selling life insurance, annuities, financial products. And so you have to learn sales. And it's really similar to the IT world in that when you start your business, you are only taught, or for MSPs and for IT pros, you know technology. In health insurance sales and life insurance sales, you're taught the product. It's all product knowledge. And it's like, okay, that's great. Now I understand the product, just like IT pros understand what they're selling. They understand the solution, they understand that offer. But nobody ever taught me the business side, how to sell, how to market, how to get clients. And so the sales was never talked about. And so it's
Sure.
very, so that I had a very deep background in sales and marketing for my own companies when I was selling. You were an independent contractor, so you ran it like your own company. So
Mhm.
then when my husband had his MSP and he's like, I do not have time to do sales and marketing. I'm being a technician. I'm trying to hire. I'm worrying about some branding and some website stuff, but not lead gen. And so he said, lead gen and sales. Can you come in? The kids were small, so I needed, just a few hours a day that I could dedicate to him, and so it became a very natural fit. So, fun,
Very
very
nice.
fun journey.
Very nice. Very cool. Now, Rick, you know, we've been talking a lot about marketing in the last couple of weeks. How about sales? What is your opinion? What have you kind of trying to adopt for sales?
Well, please no. It's just the sales follows right behind the marketing. So it's one of those things where I'm learning more and more to discuss value, to sell value as opposed to a product. And we
Yeah.
say it all the time, but as technicians, we get caught up so much in the, like, you and I will have a conversation about sales, but we'll just talk about the benefits of a product to each other because we understand. The
Right.
client doesn't understand and they don't really care. And so I'm learning now to speak more to what the benefit is to the client. How can I help solve your issue? And it's a growing process. I'll just tell you that, because sometimes even when you're talking to a client, you'll find yourself going off on a tangent because you get excited and you start talking about, well, it does this, does that, and then you can see the change in the client's face, because now it's like you went from speaking human to me to speaking English, excuse me, to I have no idea what you're talking about. So he's trying to follow you. So the process is going. We can all use some help with it. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to force myself out of talking to you guys, or talking to my commute, to the tech community, and talk to the client.
Yeah, no, I think and I'd love to hear Jennifer's take on this, because exactly like you said, I think a lot of us get hung up on a lot of the technical jargon, which I feel like we've kind of, like, over the years we've really hammered on that topic of like, don't talk jargon, talk value, talk with analogies, talk, the ability of talk people to people, which I've seen a recent thing where it's not B2B, it's not B2C, it's B2H, it's business to human, right?
Mhm.
But Jennifer, as far as, you know, I think we'll kind of maybe take it as a high level where, there's a lot of misconceptions on that marketing is going to bring, is going to allow you to bring the dollars right into to the bank account without that sales piece in between, or the assumption that marketing is going to handle the sales position of what sales really is. And a lot of people don't understand that one or both separate, but they also work together, and sometimes the lines are blurred. Can you talk a little bit about how you've kind of worked with your clients, your partners, on trying to help them understand, A, the difference, or B, how those two will work together, and really involving them to understand how to sell value to their customer?
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, essentially, marketing's job is to create awareness so that your prospects are aware you exist, and so that you are aware that the prospect might be interested. So we would call that a lead, or they're raising their hand, or you can call it a prospect. I don't care what you call them necessarily, but there is now a two-way awareness. Like, I know you exist as the prospect, and you as the prospect know that I exist. That's the job of marketing, right? We now have a tenuous, but a relationship of some point. At that stage, that's when sales takes over. And so sales job is to have that conversation with the prospect who now knows you exist, thanks to marketing, and then convert them to revenue, convert them to an account. And so, but what's interesting is that marketing and sales are really, they're quite similar in that, and Rick, you were talking about it, like features versus benefits. And so when we're talking to our IT pals and our IT colleagues, and when vendors are talking to us, they're talking to us about features, math learning, machine learning, 24/7, blah, blah. Like, those are all good. Like, when you're investigating a new tool, you have to look at the features. And so it's especially challenging for smaller companies where the owner is evaluating the solutions, selecting them, deploying them, and then going into a sales conversation, because they have to take off that owner, I'm vetting a solution, I want to know about the features, and shift into benefit mode. So let me give a tangible example. So one of my clients was talking about how they were super excited about the 24/7 SOC that the security vendor they were talking to had, and they're like, "That's a great benefit." And I said, "To whom?" And he's like, "Well, to me, it's a huge benefit to me. I don't have to build a SOC. I don't have to stay up all night. Like, all-nighters were fun in my 20s, challenging in my 30s. I'm in my 40s. I can do an all-nighter, and then I'm worthless the next 3 days," right? Like, I said, "Okay, so that's a benefit to you. What's the benefit to the client?" He's like, "Well, they can, if a threat happens at 3 in the morning, it's going to get stopped." And I said, "But don't they expect that you're doing that anyway?" Like, "Well,
Mm.
yeah." And I'm like, "Then that's not a benefit. That's like me, turning the faucet in my kitchen and water comes out. Like, I would hope so. Like, that's its job, right?" And
Mhm.
so too often we're preaching features like a 24/7 SOC or machine learning or whatever the feature. It doesn't matter what the feature is, and the client is going, I don't care, I don't understand, I don't know what you're talking about because you're speaking geek at me. Or they're going, "Well, of course you're going to have eyes on my machines at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's why I'm paying you, right?" And so there's this messaging mismatch, and that messaging mismatch is talked about a lot on the marketing side, but it's not talked about a lot on the sales side. And I think that's a mistake,
Mm.
because always benefits. And so I will say, "What's in it for me?" Again, often asked on the marketing side, I'll ask, "What's in it for me?" when I'm debriefing sales calls with my clients. I'll depending how snarky I am, I may say, "So what? So you've got this great security stack. So what? So you have a team of 7 and they've been highly vetted. So what?" And I don't mean that that isn't valuable. I mean that value is below the surface. So if you say, "Well, I've got a highly vetted team of 7, so what? Why do I care?" Well, that means that no matter when you call, we're going to answer. Now I'm starting to care. I don't care about your team. Like, okay, great. You know how to hire and fire. I'm not hiring you to do my HR. So what? Why do I care? And so that features versus benefits distinction, or the technology versus the explain what's in it for them is so important on the sales side.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because now that as I hear it quantified in like actual words, is that in the sales process, not only do you have you're highlighting features, but you are also highlighting benefits that don't matter to the client. You're not talking
Correct.
about their benefits. You're talking about benefits for yourself. And I think that's such a way to try and get your mind away from like, all right, how do you focus on like for me, it's very easy to get stuck in the weeds and understanding that, okay, I got all these cool little toys and I got all these things to really help my clients. How do I translate this to value, as you mentioned, that the customer would actually care? Has there been any resource for me? I feel that the first step on being a better salesperson and being better at sales is a big mind shift, because I feel that if you don't believe in your product and you don't believe your value, it's going to read directly into your customer, or your prospect that you're looking to try and close. How have you helped guide some of your clients on that mind shift? Because I think that's I mean, and it sounds very stereotype, where it's like or cliche, that you got to change your mindset in order to gain or gain growth in where you're going. But it's really serious. I mean, it's to the point of how I'll dial it back and then I'll throw it back to you, Jennifer, is all of us have grown in our journey being an IT service provider, whether that is a computer repair shop, hybrid, residential, small business, break fix with prepaid, monthly services, figuring out how to dial in the monthly services to profitable clients. Throughout that whole process, you're a different user, you're a different person, because you've grown and you've understood and you've taken in resources and you shifted your mindset. But when it comes down to sales, really trying to understand that piece, what have you either helped MSPs that don't know how to do that, or they're kind of on the cusp, and just helping open their minds to see that for themselves?
So I would say two big mind shifts that I see inside of my clients. One you alluded to, which is the whole I don't have confidence in my stack, and that diverges into kind of two camps. One is I don't have confidence in my stack because it's really not very good, and you are right to not have confidence in your stack. It's poor, it's substandard, and I won't help my client. I actually don't have any clients who have a subpar stack. It's actually a qualification for me. If they're just not certain about it and they're willing to have a conversation, maybe change some things and spruce some things up, that's different, right? That's the other path. But if it's subpar, then they are right to feel less than confident selling it. And so my advice would be less around gaining confidence in a piece of garbage, right? It would be less around that and more around let's elevate your stack so that you love it, so that you're excited about it, so you feel like 50% of the market needs this, so that you can say, yeah, I would sell this to my mom if she understood technology, if she needed my services, right? And so that's the first thing. Is your stack actually worthy of your confidence? And so that's the other kind of the split, is if it's worthy of your confidence, then we have a conversation, because confidence sells. So much of it's kind of that X factor that you can't fake as a salesperson. If you're ever in a prospecting situation and someone is like over the top bubbly about whatever it is they're trying to sell you, you're like, that's not genuine. Like, they genuinely
Yeah.
don't have confidence in their solution or their product or whatever it is they're trying to sell me. And so we have conversations around confidence. Like, how do you have confidence? So I had a client who was really struggling with closing sales, and we finally, like I said, okay, let's just have a heart to heart. Like, what is really going on? And he's like, okay, so I didn't want to say this in a group, but I'll say this to you. I don't feel like my clients need cybersecurity. Okay, tell me why. And he's like, well, I don't feel like it's a big threat. I don't feel like it's really likely to happen to them. And then we've got a great backup solution for my clients. And so if it happened, I think they'd be able to get back up and running. I'm like, well, then of course you can't sell your cybersecurity stack. You feel like you're ripping them off, which gets into the sleazy salesperson thing, which Paco
Right.
kind of alluded to. That's the other mindset shift, which we may have time for, we may not. But my homework to him, I said, okay, you have a week. I want you to reach out to some break fix shops, to some MSPs, to some colleagues in your peer groups, probably not in your community, because there's this, I don't want to, show people my ugly, dirty laundry kind of a thing. But I said, reach out to anybody who's been a part of a breach, a ransomware attack, a hack with their client, and have a conversation with them. Like, how did it feel? What happened? What did the downtime do to that company? Could you have stopped it if they were on your top of the line solution? Like I said, just go have those conversations. And he came back a week later, a completely different person. Like we've talked about, kind of going through that evolution of the one-man computer shop break fix to, okay, we're going to sell a little bit of managed, then it's all managed, and then it becomes cybersecurity. It doesn't matter what that shift looks like. That shift happened for him in a week because he walked in going, oh my goodness, every one of my clients need this. Like, yes, they do. And guess what happened to his close rate? Right, because he was just walking in going, hey, I need you to buy my stack because it's got antivirus and a firewall. Like, I don't mean that that's how he was talking, and I don't mean that he was, not intelligent, but he didn't believe in his product. Like, how do you sell something that people can, right? But in our industry, probably 95% of the people in our industry are honest. They have a genuine desire to help people. They care about their clients. They care about their prospects. And so, of course, you can't sell something that you feel like is ripping someone off, because that's not who you are at your core. And so that's a huge shift.
Yeah, no, that's huge. I mean, Rick, when you talk to your clients, whether it's upselling or a new prospect on that, now that you've I know you've also went through a process of updating kind of what your offerings and things of that nature, and just as a business, how has that shifted your confidence in approaching a client now versus how it was maybe even 6 months to a year ago?
It actually goes back to what Jennifer said, because it's a totally different shift. We spent a lot of time researching, trying to figure out what was right for our clients, what they needed. And now I feel like I've gotten to that point. So now I go to them and the conversation is different than, it's not I think or you should consider. This is where we need to be, and this is where we're going. And I feel better walking out of it. And the one thing I noticed is I went to all my clients talking about the shift we're going to make for cybersecurity, talking about, just for our stack in general, but, talking about the threats that are out there, how we're going to approach them to try to keep them out. And one of the, I expected a lot more resistance, and I didn't get it, which is, it's just funny to me, but it's a lesson. I expected a lot of pushback. Oh, we're increasing the price so much, or we don't necessarily need to do this, or I even expected the age, well, I'm too small, nobody's going to come after me. And I didn't get it, which was just amazing. I don't know. I'm not going to say I became this great salesman, but I think what happens too is, particularly with current customers, if you're doing the right thing by them, they trust you. And they can tell, they know, as Jennifer said, if you're not confident in something, they feel it. They see it. So if you're not confident, watch your day. And if they believe, because somebody told them, hey, we're a small shop with 5 employees, nobody's gonna hack my system, but you explain to them or approach it with, hey, they're not particularly targeting you because of your size. If you're easy to get to, they're going to get to you, or they're going to try to get to you. And so now I've noticed that the conversation is shifting, and it's not so much me selling them as me, I don't want to say, maybe educating, but also just having a conversation with them, and this is where we need to be for these reasons. So to sum it all up, it's knowing your stack, or I hate to use the word stack now, but knowing your product and the benefits your product is offering your client. And if you truly believe it, it changes the way your relationship is with your clients.
Yeah, no, I mean, those are all great points on how you have mentioned on just that mind shift and the mindset of trying to really get the best for your clients, making sure that you're doing right by them. You want to make sure that they understand, look, this is not, yes, we're a business too. We're trying to make a living, but also our main goal is to make sure that you're protected, or I shouldn't say protected. We are helping you mitigate your efforts because, marketing is key and marketing is being used for lawsuits. So make sure you check that whole piece out. And that's a whole nother topic that we can talk about. But really understanding on what you have to do right by your client, by your customer on doing this. But, going back to, and I think we'll probably end up the show and talk a little bit more about kind of what you got going on, Jennifer, is that for me to really make that shift, I knew I needed to make the shift, but I didn't know how to make that shift. So I actually approached the sales coach. I've had a sales coach probably for the last, now 6 years. So, and that's really opened my eyes on really understanding how things are done. And one of the phrases was, sales is nothing but a nudge. And when you help with that nudge, it's kind of like a referral, a review, and then that kind of will help you get further and further. But going into just seeking help, right, and understanding how to get, just up your sales game. What would be your advice on someone trying to approach and find external help to improve their sales process?
Okay, so that's like an open invitation to talk about my book that's coming up. So I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but I'm going to take the invitation. So I was challenged in October, maybe September, I guess, to write a book on specifically cybersecurity sales. But the concepts in my book apply to any kind of sales, whether it's managed compliance, managed services. And so I took all of Q4 to write simplified cybersecurity sales for MSPs. It is launching at the beginning of March. The reviews that are coming in from vendors and MSPs that got a little bit of a sneak peek are amazing. And it helps you understand. It doesn't really touch on the difference between marketing and sales. It really picks up assuming that you have an opportunity, which could be an existing client that you need to sell cybersecurity to, or a net new lead that has come off the street. And it wraps the sales fundamentals around cybersecurity. And so it how to sell it, how to have that conversation, how to build value. There's a little bit of the whole features versus benefits. There's a whole chapter on overcoming objections and what cybersecurity objections you may have only in your head. Like Rick was saying, I was convinced my clients were going to say this and then they didn't. But sometimes that fear of that objection will stop you from going out and having that conversation. So having a plan ahead of time, okay, if it does come up, here's how we're going to overcome that objection. Or even better, how do we overcome that objection before it comes up, which Rick, you may have done because you had such a big relationship with your clients. And so it is an amazing book. I'm super proud of it. It's not a moneymaker for me. Like I literally, Amazon sets, you cannot sell your book for less than this. And it's going to be a couple pennies above. Like literally, my goal is not to make money. It's fine. I'll make money for Amazon. I don't care. My goal is to get this book in the hands of as many IT service companies as I possibly can, because I then see the trickle effect. It affects that MSP business because they now know how to sell managed security, which applies to managed services, which applies to break fix sales, sales fundamentals. So now their company is more secure financially because they know how to sell, and then the trickle down effect to their clients and their communities. Like it's literally in the millions of people that are going to be impacted by a book. So that's a great first step, because some people are a little bit intimidated by hiring a sales coach, like you were saying, Paco, or reaching out and having a conversation with me, or they're still flirting with this whole, well, sales and marketing is snake oil and I feel sleazy. I actually have the word sleazy in the subtitle, like how do I sell without feeling sleazy? And I had someone challenge me on that word. They're like, I don't think IT service companies feel sleazy when they get into the sales conversation. And I'm like, well, I disagree, because I've had conversations with a couple hundred who are like, since we're just having a private conversation, yeah, I feel sleazy. I feel slimy. I don't want to sell using sleazy, slimy tactics. And that none of that is in my book. So it launches on March 4th. Join my wait list, because I know that between now and March 4th, a lot of things are going to happen. So if you go to mspsalesrevolution.com/waitlist, literally give me your first name and your email address. And then on March 4th, I will remind you to go out and grab the book. There are some other goodies involved with grabbing the book on launch day. And so my goal is to get this into as many MSP hands and IT service pro hands and break fix companies. I was talking to someone this morning that says, I'm not selling cybersecurity yet, but I'm thinking about it. This book is ideal for that. It's not technical. There are plenty of technical books out there. How do I build my solution stack? This is sales. This is all that. Now that I have a lead and I need to have a conversation, how do I have it? So mspsalesrevolution.com/waitlist. And I'll remind you on March 4th to grab my book. It happens to be my birthday, so I'm launching on my birthday. So it's my birthday on March 4th, and I'm giving this to as many people as want it at ridiculously small prices, and Amazon gets all the money. I don't care.
That's awesome. And yeah, we'll make sure to have that link in the show notes. And then once it's out on Amazon, we'll make sure to update the show notes to have those for people to pick it up as well. Yeah, I mean, if you're not reading, you're not learning. And definitely you want to make sure that you're reading in some way, shape, or form, whether that's Audible, whether that's reading a physical book. Books are going to be your gateway to more knowledge. And that's definitely a piece for that as well. But Jennifer, I know that you have some other exciting things going on, and I think that was kind of why I wanted to reach out to you for those that feel that they're in that demographic to attend. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your in-person show you got going on in May?
Yes, I have an in-person show in Orlando, May 10 and 11. It's called the Ultimate IT Growth Conference, and we are bringing in some really big name speakers, both from inside of our channel. So Matt Solomon and Jay Ryersey, Cyber Matt Lee, and then some people from outside of the channel. David Meltzer is coming, and he is big in the sports world, in the MMA world. He owns a mountain, like he's massively successful, but his claim to fame is that he built several businesses to millions, and then he lost it all. Then he built it back up, but he didn't want to lose it again. So he went back and said, how did I lose it? And how can I create frameworks and systems and workflows that help businesses succeed and not lose all of their money? And so he's going to be coming in. He's actually going to be at our mixer and has agreed to, we can like pepper him with questions for 2 hours if we choose. So it's literally an ask me anything with a business leader that he's got the heart of a teacher. Like he just wants to help. And then we've got someone else coming in to talk about mergers and acquisitions, either if you want to acquire or someday you want to be acquired. And I'm actually going to be unveiling a brand new lead generation strategy. It's a little bit out of the box that works phenomenally, that literally the people that are applying this concept are seeing more leads come to them than they've ever had before. So I'll be sharing that at the show. Everybody at the show is going to get a copy of a year's worth of my private podcast that I do for my private clients every week. And so we are packing in the value. The details on that is at mspsalesrevolution.com/ultimate, because it is the Ultimate IT Growth Conference. And we are really excited. It's shaping up to be an amazing event. The speakers are excited. The vendors are excited. And so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I just remember listening to David Meltzer. What was that? I think it was listening to a podcast, Business Wars, and they were talking about Nike versus Adidas. And he was kind of giving his, and he's very insightful, very knowledgeable. You could just tell that he is that type of person to give. And that'd be a great topic, very great speaking environment for him to kind of leverage for those to take back. And I'm all about, for those that feel like, well, he's not in our industry, what can I learn? I think there's a mistake, because there's a lot of things that you can learn from other people, no matter where you are in whatever industry that they are. And you should always be asking your question, how do I take that back for me? Yes. How do I allow that for my business? That's why I love watching things like Shark Tank and The Profit and stuff like that, because it could be a completely different industry, but that tactic, how can I make that leverage for me? And that's how we've kind of made some great thinking back in the computer repair shop when it was just less resources and more time on my hand. How do you get creative, right? Yes. And that's a big opportunity for a lot of people as well. So definitely we'll have that link in the show notes as well. But yeah, Jennifer, really appreciate you coming on. For those that don't know Jennifer, definitely obviously check out everything that she has mentioned. I'll let her kind of talk about other places you can find her or how to get a hold of her. But she was one of our breakout speakers and vendors over at TechCon last year. Everyone raves and still raves about her session that she talked about video marketing and sales. So I definitely implore you to check her out. Jennifer, what's the best way for people to reach out to you, or just to find out more, get involved with some of the things you got going on outside of obviously getting your book and attending that event?
So I'm very, very easy to find. So I am on social media. So whatever your preferred platform is, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn, those are the two places I'm at. I answer my own emails. So drop me an email, jennifer@mspsalesrevolution.com. Those are the best ways to reach me. I'm everywhere online. You almost can't go a few days without seeing me. I love the community. I firmly believe that the IT companies that are serving small business owners are supporting the backbone of the global economy. And so anything I can do to help, a conversation, 30-minute coaching call, like literally, I will do it. Like I want to help. So, email me or find me on Facebook. I've got a Facebook group all about cybersecurity sales, MSP Sales Revolution. So search that. Find me. I'm here. I'm available.
Very cool. Yeah, we'll make sure we have that link as well. It's a great group with a lot of great value and information, and then just a lot of people talking, having conversations in there. It's a really great place to be. Rick, any lasting words?
Well, my end of the show spiel. Paco and I are working very hard for our upcoming show, the Techcon Unplugged, which is coming up in September. And we're also working very hard on rolling out great content for you all, for all of us, on the MSP Unplugged show. So if you have any questions, suggestions, if you want to come on the show, beat me before I beat you, because I'm going to send you an email if I meet you and ask you to come on. So just send an email to me, rick@mspunplugged.com or info@mspunplugged.com. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have your feedback. And believe me, we read everything, take it to heart, and try to make sure that we're serving the community correct.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Come join us every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central for Tech Talk Tuesday, or Thursdays, I should say, not or, and Thursdays at 9 a.m. Central for Resource Thursday. Watch the video podcast over at youtube.com/MSP Unplugged or facebook.com/MSP Unplugged. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification button so you never miss an episode. Also, you can take us on the go. Use your favorite podcatcher app to listen into on Amazon Music, Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts. We want to, again, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.